This video is brought to you by A Life Worth Living. John Clark, lawyer, Clark's LLP.
There are 43,000 persons with disabilities who have graduated from post-secondary education in Ontario. They are all looking for work. It's a resource that businesses should tap into.
Judy Robinette, Executive Director, A Life Worth Living.
My passion for A Life Worth Living is based probably on my own personal experience, and especially in the workplace where working gives you such self-esteem. I can remember a time when I was told I couldn't work in one business, a large business, but I knew I could do the job. I had the skills and the education to do so. Years went by, but I'm very happy to say that that organization changed their business strategy under AODA, and that they allowed a person who was blind to have access to the very job I wanted, and she beat all quotas.
The Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act, AODA, is Ontario's economic growth strategy for a more inclusive society. Kyle Horner, producer, AM 800.
When I first started here, I had to work my way up, and I didn't tell anybody I had cystic fibrosis because it was second in my life. And it wasn't that I was trying to hide it from them, it was just, I didn't think it mattered. Living was first, and then dealing with the disability that I have was second. It was probably at least a couple years before my bosses even knew I had cystic fibrosis, just because, first of all, I wanted to come here, I wanted to work in radio, and the lung disease wasn't going to hold me back.
David Best, Accessibility IT Specialist.
It's important to understand that the AODA legislation was established by unanimous support of all political parties. So it's not something that has been forced on Ontarians.
Vicki Mayer, Executive Director, ATN Access Inc.
Initially, small and medium-sized businesses in particular are going to feel this is something else the government is doing to them. It's going to be expensive, it's going to be labor-intensive, and it's not going to make any difference in their business in terms of the process.
The AODA is going to have major impact on all Ontario organizations because the design of the AODA is for economic expansion.
Anna Sturko, lawyer, Siskins LLP.
It levels the playing field for all individuals and encourages employers to allow all of those different perspectives and viewpoints to come to the forefront.
John Corrent, lawyer, Corrent and Macri, LLP.
Failure to comply with the legislation will certainly result in penalties, but worse than that, just does not look good for the business.
Take, for example, the small business person who owns a grocery store. Fairly small, jam-packed. They have an employee with a mobility issue, using a wheelchair. Creating accessibility for that individual creates accessibility for many of their customers, whether they've got strollers, they're large, they're short, they're tall. It creates a better environment for shopping for their customers.
Dean LeBute, AODA consultant.
Persons with disabilities are in fact an economic juggernaut, just that people don't recognize it. If they can access their businesses, their premises, to spend their money, it is estimated that persons with disabilities have expendable income of an area of $21 to $23 billion per year.
Since the passing of the AODA, there's been a lot of material, text, PowerPoint, some video on the what and the why. But the difficulty with that is it must be complemented with a how. If you don't know how to implement it, then there is no lead to action.
In my experience in working with Ontario organizations, I have found that the major challenge for management is understanding the accessibility issues for the various disabilities.
I've received written manuals in the past. They are certainly limited in the sense that they quickly become outdated.
Wouldn't it be beneficial for employers and employees faced with an accessibility issue to be able to hearken back to a training video, to place themselves in the shoes of the trainer, and to apply what they learned in the video in the workplace.
An interactive online toolkit will accommodate different learning styles, different learning paces, different accessibility needs, and it will give a person the opportunity to control the pace and method of learning.
Statistics have shown us that 40% of learning right now is happening online. We're going to take advantage of that knowledge and build a tool that employers can use to ensure that they get the training, their staff get their training, and their contract people get the training they need.
Lori Coman, Low Vision Counselor.
Truly, there is nowhere we can go online and look up, how do we deal with a visually impaired employee? What should we do? What should we look for? Nothing like that exists.
Dr. Dan Vespa, optometrist.
The idea for me, the program should give them a different perspective. Rather than their own perspective, how vision works, the idea of a program is to give them a new perspective and a new way of understanding how someone who has a vision impairment functions. So it's not always in a negative way, it's not always in a positive way, but it's in a different way.
That's why I think this program is so brilliant, because this is going to give them the tool that they need to be able to employ that person.
Everything that I'm able to do in my life, I love taking trips, I love going to sporting events, again, living a normal life, not worrying about my lung disease is because I have a job. I got money coming in, and if I didn't have that, I would have nothing.
An online toolkit will allow employers and service providers to understand the power of those digital tools that I use in my daily life, such as GPS guidance systems, screen reader for the computer navigation, and Braille display for reading documents online.
I want to go past the law in having a training video for AODA. I want to look at inclusion. I want to look at how important it is that our communities across Ontario, Canada, the world, includes all people of all abilities.
A Life Worth Living draws from the personal experiences of people living with the realities of disability. Our mission is to produce multimedia resources for people with a disability who want to know how others live this life, and to provide the people in their circles with practical instruction, information, and support.